Let's see, are we all systems go? Yeah, we're all systems go here. And we are up to the new Mishnah on Daf Pei Vav Amud Beis, new Mishnah Pei Vav Amud Beis. Now this is a real dramatic execution of a elder of the Sanhedrin who rebels against the opinion of the Sanhedrin Agadol. Zokein Mamrei al Pi Bezdin, an elder that rebels. We're on the Mishnah on Pei Vav Amud Beis. Zokein Mamrei al Pi Bezdin, a rebellious elder against the Sanhedrin Agadol. Now the parsha starts off Ki Yipalei Mimcha Davar LaMishpat, when there is something that is a wonder to you in the judgment. And then the parsha goes on and tells us the saga of the rebellious sage that is executed. Shloisha Batei Dinim HaYusham, there were in the temple complex, there were three bezdins. Echad Yoshev al Pesach Harabayis, the junior one, sat at the entrance to the Temple Mount. The Echad Yoshev al Pesach Hazara, a more advanced one, was at the entrance to the temple courtyard. And of course, there's the Sanhedrin Agadol, the Echad Yoshev Belishkas Hagazis, in the special chamber of cut stone in the temple complex. Now, if a sage had a difference of opinion with the people of his community, Bon Lezesh al Pesach Harbayis, he first comes to the one at the entrance to the Temple Mount. So did I expound, so do my colleagues expound. So do I teach. Im shamu, if they had a tradition, amalahem, v'im lav, but if this court did not have any specific tradition, they move up to the next level, to the one at the door of the temple courtyard. So did I expound, so did my colleagues expound. So did I teach, so did my colleagues teach. If they had a tradition, they say it. Everybody comes together and brings it to the Sanhedrin Agadol, that from it emanates the final law to Klal Yisrael. From this place, Yivcher Hashem. And Bezdin there, either they had a tradition, or if they didn't, they deliberated and they voted on it and they made a decision. If then this rebellious sage is Chazal Irai, returns to his city, and Shana V'limed B'derech Shaya Limed, he insisted stubbornly to learn and to teach in his individualistic opinion, Potter, he's not executed. However, V'im Hora Lasais, but if he paskins to do it, actually follow his opinion and actually not just theoretically, but he actually tells someone to follow his opinion in defiance of the great court of the land, chayiv, then he is executed. If he does willfully, until he actually says to do it practically. Talmud shahira lasais pater. However, this is only if he's a member of the court. If he's not a musmach, and he rebels against the court, he's not executed. Nimsa chumrai, the chumrah that he cannot be given smicha because he's under 40, is kulai, is his leniency that he is not executed. Tan Rabbana. Let's go and talk about this more. Ki yapalei mimcha davar. This means b'mufla shebebezdin akasim medaber. We're talking about a eminent member of the high court. The whole din of Zakin Mamre is only an eminent member of the high court. Mimcha, if there is a matter, and it's telling us now different subjects where if there is this disparity and he rebels, that he could get executed. Mimcha ze yoyetz. This is one of the counselors that gives advice about the intercalation of the year when we add a leap year. From you came out counsel against Hashem, raw, evil, yoyetz b'liyal, worthless counsel. Davar, zu halacha. This is a matter of halacha l'Moshe Sinai. La mishpat zadin. This is a matter of a gzeira shava. Here, din does not mean Jewish jurisprudence. That's going to be mentioned later. This is a matter of a gzeira shava, which is also called a din, because when we make a gzeira shava, the Gemara says donin. Bein dam ledam, a matter between blood. Bein dam nida, that means whether it's a question about menstrual blood, dam leda, blood of childbirth, or dam ziva, or biblical gonorrhea. Bein din ledin, here it means bein dinei nefashos, whether it's capital crimes, dinei mamnas, financial matters, or dinei makis, about flogging. Bein nega lenega, between different types of leprosy, there's 3 types of leprosy. Bein nige adam nige batim nige begadim, whether it's a leprosy that afflicts a person or afflicts houses or afflicts clothing. Divrei, words, elu acharamim v'harachin v'haktashis. This has to do with bans. There are different types of exclamations of bans. It could be chermei bedekabayis. You could give something to temple maintenance, or chermei kahanim, or to the kahanim. Arachin is when a person says, erki olai, my worth upon me, according to the amounts delineated in the Torah, depending on age and gender, v'haktashis, and sanctifications. Rivais, quarrels, zu ashka saita, these are the laws revolving around giving to drink from the bitter waters to the adulterous woman. Varifas egla, the breaking of the heifer's neck in an unsolved homicide. Betaris mitzaira, and the purification of the leper. We're going to see that in all of these areas there could be matters of a zaken mamre. The Gemara is going to give us more lengthy explanation. Bisharecha, at your gates. Now, at your gates, it says you're supposed to give tzedakah from your gates. So, zu leket shiko peah, these are the laws of the gleanings, when you have to leave some of the tvur when it falls while you're reaping, the forgotten sheaf and the corner of the field. Vikamta, you get up. This means you get up mibezdin, from your local court, v'alisa, and you go up, because from wherever you are, it's an aliyah to Eretz Yisrael. Malamet shebeis hamikdash gavoya Eretz Yisrael. Beis hamikdash is higher than any place in Eretz Yisrael. Ve'Eretz Yisrael gavoya mikol haratzos, and Eretz Yisrael is higher than all other lands. Ela mokim malamet she'amokim gorim. The only time there is an execution for a zaken mamre is only if it takes place from the lishkas hagazis. If the
Rabbi Weiss, where are we holding? I'm sorry, I just came home.
We are holding on Daf Pei Zayin Amud Aleph, and we are holding 12 lines from the top.
Thank you. A good devach. Thank you.
Is there an instance of this?
Some say yes, some say no. So the Gemara says, I understand Bishleima Beis Hamikdash Gavoya Eretz Yisrael. I understand that the Beis Hamikdash is higher than the rest of Eretz Yisrael. Dichsiv v'alisa, that you go up. Ela Eretz Yisrael Gavoya Mikol haratzos minali. How do you know that Eretz Yisrael is higher than all other lands? Dichsiv lachein hine yomim boim num Hashem. There will be days coming, says Hashem, when we have the final geula, final redemption, hopefully speedily in our day. V'lo yomru, we won't say anymore, Chaya Hashem asher heles b'nei Yisrael me'eretz Mitzrayim, that Hashem live who brought b'nei Yisrael up from Eretz Yisrael. Ki im Chaya Hashem asher hela, who brings up Vasher Hevi Ezera Beis Yisrael, and then brings the Beis Yisrael me'eretz Safina from the north, and Mikol ha'aratzos asher yidachtem sham, from all the lands that they are pushed, that they were spread out to, v'yoshvu al admasim, and they will once again dwell in their land. So it says from everywhere we will be brought up. So we see that Eretz Yisrael is Gevaya Mikol ha'aratzos.
I mean, is it now?
What?
Is it now? Is Eretz Yisrael high school?
Well, we have to know what that means, what it means. But there is an aspect of Eretz Yisrael being higher than all the lands.
Not necessarily sea level.
No, it's not sea level, obviously not.
Metaphysically, it's higher.
If you look at the article brings down different opinions what it means.
What's the footnote, sir?
But number 17.
Number 7. Thank you.
Tana Rabbanan. Zaken Mamre, when the sage rebels, does he rebel about anything? Or is it only in a grave crime? So this is a machlokes. Tana Rabbanan, Zaken Mamre, he only is executed as a rebellious sage, on something that involves a matter whose willful punishment is spiritual death, and unwittingly brings a chattas. That's the opinion of Rameir. Rabbi Yehuda says it doesn't have to be such a weighty crime. It has to be something that has a scriptural basis. And it's elaborated upon by the drasha of the Chacham. Reb Shimon Aimer, no, it doesn't even have to be expressly stated in the Torah. Afilu diktuk echad midiktukei seifrim, even if it's one detail which is inferred by the Rabbanim from the Torah, that's enough. If he disagrees with it, he could be executed. De'emar. Dover, says, hold on. Okay, so now the Gemara says, what's the reason of Rameir? What's the reason Rameir holds that it has to be a matter which involves a penalty of kares? My time in the Rameir, Gamar Dover. He learns out of Gzeir Shava Dover. Ksiv hacha ki yipoli mimcha Dover lamishpat, a matter of judgment. Uksiv hasam, and it says by the para helam Dover shel tzibur, minelam Dover me'enei hakol, if something became hidden from the eyes of the congregation. Ma'alahalon, that if the Bezdin makes an erroneous psak, that they have to bring a bull, it's only a davar shechayev al zedayne kares val shigigas eichatos. It's only on something that carries a penalty of kares and unwitting sin offering. Afkan davar shechayev al zedayne kares val shigigas eichatos. That's where we will execute a zaken mamre.
Assuming this is l'kula only, not l'chumra. Also, this wouldn't make sense.
Well, no, he says that there's no kares.
Right, but if he's being machmer on something that they're being mekel, then he's not going to get killed for that.
No, I don't think so. Although the Gemara doesn't mention that, but I don't think so. Rabbi Yehuda, al pi Torah asher yarucha, by the mouth of the Torah which you paskin. So there you have two elements. Adika Torah, it has to be something that's expressly mentioned in Torah. V'yarucha, and it's about a detail which is expounded upon by the sages. Rabbi Shimon says it could be something even if it's only hinted to in the Torah. Asher yagidu lecha min hamakom hahu, which is related from this place. Who tells me afilu koldu, even if it's just an inference of a drasha from the Torah. So now, if you remember, we had this lengthy brisa that taught us that the Zaken Mamre is in all kinds of issues, about the intercalating the leap year, and about tzaras, and about charamim. Now, according to Reb Meir, all of these issues have to involve a penalty of kares. And that's a trick. How do you say that all of those issues, like leket shikro peya, like the matnas haniyim, the gifts to the poor, or even leprosy, how do they involve an issakaris? So Amalei, this opens up a very scholarly discussion over it. This is going to be a very scholarly and varied discussion. Amalei Rav Huna bar Chinana l'Rava, Tirgam ali lahamas nisa ali b'Reb Meir. Could you interpret to me the whole brisa of all of those subjects that they could fit according to Reb Meir, who says that there's only a zaken mamre by an issue of kares? So Amalei Rava l'Rav Papa, Rava delegated to Rav Papa and told Rav Papa, Puk Targamalei, go and explain it to him. Go and show him how each of these cases could be an Isser Kares. So he goes now and takes it apart. As we said, it's only an eminent sage of the court. Mimcha zeyayitz. This is a one who knows to counsel to intercalate the leap year. Sheyadela abishanim. He knows how to make a leap year. V'likbaya chadashim, and to fix the months. Kiditnan. Now here's an interesting machlokes. Can you make a leap year? A leap year is a second order. Can you make a leap year during the entire order, even after Purim? It's amazing that we're learning about Purim on Purim, because this is Friday's daf. So we're learning about Purim on Purim. It's a really rather remarkable thing. Really rather remarkable thing. Kiditnan. Heine idu. They testified Shema Abram es Hashana Kol Adar. You could declare a leap year the whole month of Adar. Sheya'imim, because others say Ara Purim, that you only could declare it until Purim. After that, once you had Purim, we don't want to negate Purim and make another Purim. So therefore, you can only do it until Purim. So here we have a difference of opinion that will have chorus repercussions. Why? Because if, let's say, they paskined, you could make the leap year the whole month, and this Zaken said, no, you could only make it until Purim. So then, according to him, when they declare the leap year after Purim, it's not a good declaration. So he'll have Pesach, the regular time, on the regular Nisan. While according to the Bezdin, that made an extra month, Pesach will be a month later. So it's a difference about eating chametz on Pesach, which is an Issakaris. The Ilahai Gisa Kashari chametz b'Pesach, because according to one opinion you're permitting chametz b'Pesach. The Ilahai Nisan Kashari Gisa Kashari chametz b'Pesach, because there's a difference of a month. So if the Zaken Mamre says you can't make a leap year, so he's going to have Pesach a month earlier, and he's going to end up eating chametz on Bezdin's Pesach, while the Bezdin will be eating chametz on his Pesach. So it's a difference of kares. Davar ze halacha. We said that's halacha l'Moshe Sinai. What's an example of halacha? Zu hilchas achad aser. This is, for example, the halacha l'Moshe Sinai of the 11th day of the Ziva cycle. Now, as I told you, this is going to be very scholarly discussions. In Talmudic times, now a woman's cycle is simply calculated by nidus. But in Talmudic times, there was a period of 11 days where if she saw blood, she was not declared a nida, but she was declared a zava. And if she saw blood one day, so then she's a shemeres yom keneged yom. She has to wait just one day, the next day, and if she doesn't see blood, she could be tovel and go to the mikveh. And so too, even after 2 days. But after 3 days, she becomes a zava gedayla. Now, the halacha l'meishmi Sinai says that if she sees blood on the 11th day, she doesn't have to wait another day. And as long as the blood stops, she could go to a mikveh and be with her husband that night. Now that everybody agrees with. The question is, what if she sees blood on the 10th day? Now, on the 10th day, she can't become a Zava Gedayla anymore. Because if she sees on the 10th day and the 11th day, the 12th day is already beginning of her Nida cycle. So therefore, she cannot become a Zava Gedayla. So since she cannot become a Zava Gedayla, the question is, do we still have the rule of Shemeres Yom Keneged Yom, that if she sees on the 10th day, she has to wait the 11th day before being with her husband? Or do we say, since she can't become a Zava Gedayla, she doesn't have a din of a Shemeres Yom Keneged Yom? So let's see that inside. The Itmar, Asiri, Rabbi Yochanan Amar, Asiri Kachi, the 10th day is like the 9th day. Just like on the 10th day, on the 9th day, she has to be Shemeres Yom Keneged Yom. So also on the 10th day, she also has to be Shemeres Yom Keneged Yom. Reb Shimon Lakish Amar, no, Asiri Ka'achad Aser. The 10th day is like the 11th day, just like on the 11th day. She doesn't have to wait a day to be Shemeres Yom Keneged Yom, because there was no 12th day. The 12th day she's already in Nida. So also on the 10th day, since she can't become a Zava Gedayla, she doesn't have to wait a Shemeres Yom Keneged Yom. As the Gemara tells us, as the Gemara now specifies, Rabbi Yochanan Asiri Kachi, the 10th day is like the 9th day. Machi Ba'ishimah, you have to wait on the 9th day, the 10th day. Shemeres Yom Keneged Yom. Af Asiri Ba'ishimah, so also the 10th day, you have to wait on the 11th day, Shemeres Yom Keneged Yom. Reish Lakish Aimer, no. Asiri Ka'achad Aser, the 10th day is like the 11th day. Ma'achad Aser Lo Ba'ishimah, because you can't become a Zava Gedayla, because already the next day she's a Nida. Af Asiri Lo Ba'ishimah, since she can't become a Zava Gedayla with 3 days. So here we have a matter of the halacha l'Moshe Sinai, the dispute about what it says about the 11th day, if it's true, the 10th day also, which has kares and chatas repercussions. Mishpat ze'adin. That's a Gzeirah Shava. Now this is a Gzeirah Shava that has an impact about Misa's Bezdin, which is even more severe than kares. Because there is a question, how do we know that a man cannot sleep with a daughter that he had out of wedlock from a rape? How do we know that the prohibition of daughter applies to that as well? The Amar Rava, Amalei Rabbi Yitzchak Bar Avadimi, Asya Heina Heina. We learn in the Gzeirah Shava from Heina Heina that Bita applies even to Bita Me'anusasai. And we learn that there's a punishment of Sreifa from Gzeirah Shava, Asya Zima Zima. Now, if they argue about this Gzeirah Shava, and the Zaken Mamre says that he doesn't hold of this Gzeirah Shava of Heina Heina, and by Bita Manasasa there's no death sentence, so then he would be executed. Bein dam ledam, between one type of blood and another blood, so we explained Bein dam nida, dam leida, dam ziva. It makes a difference between dam nida and dam of childbirth, and also blood of ziva. And now the Gemara will give us an example of each one where it will be an issue of kares. Dam nida beplukta akavya b'malala v'rabbanan. There is a question about whether yellowish blood is considered dam nida. Nan dam ayoruk, and as I said in my shir this afternoon, when it doesn't say yoruk crazy, if it doesn't say yoruk like a leek, then if it says yoruk crazy, that means green. If it just says yoruk, it means yellow. So dama yoruk, yellowish blood, Akavya ben malala metame holds its tummy, and then there would be chorus if he sleeps with her. V'chachamim metarin. So there you have a machlokes about dam, which has a very simple chorus difference. Now, what about dam leda? This is more complicated. What about blood of childbirth? As we said, a woman that sees during her Yemei Ziva blood 3 days in a row becomes a Zava G'dayla, and then she has to count 7 days. The question is, she's not going to become a Zava if we say that the blood is the blood of labor. If it was blood of labor, then it's not blood of Ziva. But here, one second. I'm jumping. That's going to be the machlokes about dam ziva. The machlokes about dam leda, this is much simpler. The machlokes of blood of childbirth, we know that by a woman who gives birth, the first 7 days, if she gives birth to a boy, the first 7 days her blood is tameh. The next 33 days her blood is tar. That's the way it is by a boy. By a girl, the first 14 days she's tameh, and the next 66 days she's tar. The Gemara tells us there's 2 ways to look at it. One way to look at it is it's the same blood, just the first 14 days it's tameh, and the next 66 days it's tar. The other way to look at it is that the blood comes from a different source. The first 14 days it comes from a source of tuma. The next 66 days it comes from a source of tara. What's the difference how you look at it? As we welcome in our Chicagoan, who is his Shabbos ends a little later than ours. Not that it makes a difference. I mean,
it's not over yet.
Yeah, for us it's over with you. But according to my calculations, your Shabbos was over at least an hour and a half ago.
Is this his?
Bad.
Yeah, I just want to point out that there was no problem for you to come on time.
No problem for me to get on right now.
Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
Talking about a coin with 2 sides, they're really the same thing, aren't they?
Again, before I was rudely interrupted, let me.
You interrupted. Where are we at?
Before I was, we're on Daf Pei Zayin Amid Beis, about 8 lines from the top. Again, when a woman gives birth, let's say to a boy, the first 7 days she's tameh, the next 33 days she's tar. There's 2 ways to look at it. Either it's because the first 7 days the blood comes from a tameh source, and the next 33 days the blood comes from a tar source. That's one way to look at it. The other way to look at it is there is only one source. Just the Torah says the first 7 days it's tameh, the next 33 days it's tar. So as Michal Avram says, what's the difference? It's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. The answer is if she doesn't stop bleeding. If she goes from day 7 to day 8 without stopping to bleed. So if you hold that it's just the first 7 days it's tummy, the 8th day it's tar, it's all coming from one source, so it doesn't make a difference if she didn't stop bleeding. But if you hold it's coming from another source, it has to stop. If it didn't stop, it's still coming from the original source, and then she'll be tameh on day 8, day 9, and day 10 if she continues to bleed. If you hold, as I said, that it's just mandatory, the first 7 days it's tar, and after that it's tameh, it makes no difference if she will continue to bleed or not. So let's see it inside. Damlei de beplukta de Rava Levi. There's one source. HaTorah Timasa, the Torah is Matame at the first 7 days. And for the next 33 days, the Torah says it's tar. There are two sources. Nistamatame, at day 7, after day 7, the Tame source seals, and Niftachatar, and the Tar source opens. Nistamatar, after day 40, the Tar source seals, and then Niftachatame. But, therefore, it'll only be if she stops bleeding. But if she continues bleeding continuously, she's still tame even on day 8, day 9, day 10. If she bleeds continuously, she'll still be tar on day 41, day 42, and day 43. And of course...
How long does she have to stop bleeding for, Rabbi? Is there a specific time, or...?
A minute, even less. Now, Dam Ziva, now this is more complicated. As we said, during her 11 days of Ziva, if she sees 3 times, she becomes a Zava G'dayla and she has to wait 7 days. Now, the question is whether do we say that the labor that she had, if she's bleeding while she has labor, that is not attributed to Ziva. We could ignore it. The question, however, is, what about if it's false labor? That complicates matters. So, says the Gemara as follows. Dam Ziva, beplukta de Rabbi Eliezer Rabbi Yeshua, Titnan, Kishisa Shloisha Yomim, B'seich Achad Asa Yom. She has labor pains 3 consecutive days during her 11 days of Ziva at the end of her pregnancy. Im shafsa me'es la'es. If, however, she had a respite, she had relief for 24 hours, v'yolda, that relief shows retroactively that the 3 days before were not real labor, because she had relief 24 hours. So then she's retroactively a Zava G'dayla. Harizu Yoledes B'zayv. Then this is a woman who gave birth in a state of being a Zava G'dayla. Divrei Rabbi Eliezer. Now that means that Rabbi Eliezer holds it's enough for there to be a respite. There's enough for there to be a relief of 24 hours, even if it's from 11 o'clock Monday to 11 o'clock Tuesday. Rabbi Yeshua says, in order for it to make the 3 days false labor, there has to be a relief of a day and a night. Rabbi Yeshua, I'm a layla v'yayim, it has to be a day and a night, kelele Shabbos v'yayimai, like the day of Shabbos and the night before. If it's only 24 hours, but it's not a full day and night, that's not enough to retroactively make the labor into false labor. Now, when we say sheshavsa, that doesn't mean that she had to stop bleeding. As long as she had relief from the pain, sheshavsa min hatzar v'lo min adam, that retroactively deems the previous 3 days as false labor. Since it's false labor, now it's considered that she's a Zava G'dayla, and she gives birth as a Zava G'dayla with all the stringencies of being a Zava G'dayla. Bein din ledin, between one judgment and another judgment, and now we're going to have the examples of Dinei Nefashis, Dinei Mamanis, and Dinei Makis, that according to Rameir, all have to be Karis issues. Boy, this is really, as I told you, this is a very scholarly piece of Gemara. All scholars are still here, I see. Okay, good. Bein din ledin, bein dinei manmanis, dinei nefashis, and dinei makis. Whether it's financial, a capital issue, whether it's a flogging issue. Dinei manmanis beplukta de Shmuel v'Rebbi Avo. It has to do with the machloikis of Shmuel and Rebbi Avo. The Amar Shmuel said, Shtaim shedanu dineim din. 2 people that rule and make a decision, the decision is a decision. It's just that it's called a chutzpah bezdin, but a decision rendered by two judges is a valid decision. While Rabbi Avo Aimer lekule ledivra hakol ein dinem din. Two judges don't count as a decision. Now, how could this sounds like a monetary affair. How could this affect chorus? So this is very interesting. This is what you hear all throughout Shas, nafkamina lekidushin, which means that in the event that Mark and Steve have a monetary dispute, and it's decided by a bezdin of two that Mark is right, and Mark is awarded the money, and with that money he's mekadesh an isha. You can marry another wife. He takes another wife. Don't tell his wife. Right? He takes another wife. So according to Shmuel, it's a good kedushin because it was his money, and therefore if somebody sleeps with this woman, he's committing adultery. On the other hand, if you hold that it's not a good court, so the money's not Mark's, so then the kedushin wasn't a good kedushin, and then there's no adultery. So you see, we just made an afkamina of a capital crime. Says the Gemara, Dine Nefashis, but plukta the Rebbe Rabbanan. The Tanya Rebbe Yaimer, Rebbe says, remember when we had two people fighting, and they hit a pregnant woman. So he said, V'nasata nefesh tachas nefesh. You give a life for a life. Mamon. That means you have to pay. Maybe it means an actual life. That because he was nischav and lara gezeh v'hara gezeh, he had in mind to kill one person. He killed the woman. He's put to death. But never nesina lamala. It says nesina above. V'nasan beflilim. There it's talking about money. V'nemer nesina lamata. Malahalan man. Just in one case it's talking about money. Afkan maman. So another place it's also talking about money. Now we have another opinion that says that since it was somebody died, you don't pay, right? Because we say kam le'rabine even where it's b'shaygeg. So therefore, again, if the money was awarded, if you hold that like the opinion that he has to pay and he's mekadosh and isha with that money, the kedushin would be good. If he wasn't entitled to the money and he's mekadosh and isha with that money, then the kedushin would not be good. Dine makis, flogging. Well, where do we have machlokes by flogging that has charistic repercussions? But plukted Rabbi Yishmael v'Rabbanan did not makis b'shloisha. Flogging is decided by a bezdin of three. Mishum Rabbi Yishmael Aimer, since we take part of his life away by banging him up, but esem b'shloisha, you need a bezdin of 23. So over here, if the decision was you need a bezdin of 23, then if you flogged him with a bezdin of 3, you would have to pay damages. You have to pay damages, and then the person who got that money for the damages, if he's mekadosh and isha, she would be a married woman. If he was not he didn't have to pay damages because you're allowed to paskin with a bezdin of 3. So then the person that was given the money didn't deserve the money because he wasn't eligible for damage payment. Then the kedushin that he made would not be good kedushin. Beinega lenega, between one leprosy and another. Now this affects 3 classifications of leprosy: nigei adam, nigei batim, and nigei begadim. Leprosy of humans, leprosy of houses, and leprosy of clothing. Nigei adam, bepluked the Rabbi Yeshua Rabbanan. The Tanan, we learned in Baheres, part of a leprosy is there has to be white hair. Now, in Baheres Kodam Laseir Alavin, if the leprosy preceded the white hair, that means first you got the white spot, and then the hair turned white, Tomei. Im Seir Lavin Kodam Laberes, if the white hair preceded the white spot, Tar. because then you can't say that the leprosy caused the hair to become white, because the white hair preceded the leprosy. Sufik Tomei. If you're not sure whether the white hair came first or not, he's Tomei. While Rabbi Yeshua Aimer Keya, no, it's dim. My Keya, Amarava Keya Tar. It means that since it's dim, it's not clear, so it's tar. Now here, this is a very simple machloikis of karas, because if the man is considered a Mitzayra and he enters in the Mikdash, so he's chayiv karas. If he's not a Mitzayra, he's not chayiv karas. So it's a karistic difference. Same thing too, nigei batim. Leprosy on the house was red and green blotches on the house, but Rabbi Elazar, Reb Shimon is very specific when the house has nigah. But plug to the Rabbi Elazar, Reb Shimon, Rabbanan. Did not Rabbanan say if there's a certain share of red or green blotches, the house becomes tamei. Rabbi Elazar, Reb Shimon is much more specific. Did not Rabbi Elazar, Reb Shimon, Aimer la'olam ein abayis tamei. The house is not declared tamei. At sheyera kishnei grisen, you have to see the size of two split beans. Al shnei avonim, on each split bean, on two stones. B'shtei kisalim, one on one wall, one on the other wall. B'keren zavis, at the corner. So they're connected as the wall bends at the corner. In total, it has to have the length of two split beans, v'rach by kigris, and the width like a gris. So according to Rabbi Elazar, Reb Shimon, if it's not at the corner, then it's not a leprous house. And if you go into the house and then you go into the mikdash, you wouldn't get karas because it wasn't a leprous house. According to Rabbanan, if it had the shear, it would be a leprous house. Now, my time with Rabbi Elazar, Reb Shimon, what's the reason of Rabbi Elazar, Reb Shimon? Ksiv kir uksiv kirais. One pasuk says a wall, and one pasuk says two walls. So which one is it? Do you need the leprosy on two walls, or do you need the leprosy on one wall? So he says, Eizel kirshu kikirais. What is a wall that looks like two walls? That's have a aimer zekeren zavi. So what is two walls that look like one wall? That's if it's on the two walls connecting at the corner, so it looks like, since it's continuous around the bend, it looks like one wall. Nigei batim, begadim, leprosy on clothing. Now there is a halacha, which is a strange halacha. I mean, these are all gzeres hakosivs, but it's an unusual halacha that if a person has leprosy all over his body, he's tar. The question is, does that apply also to clothing? If the leprosy covers the entire clothing, is the clothing tar? So it says, that's a machlokes, nigei begadim, but plukta the Rabbi Yonasan ben Avtolmus Rabbanan. The Tanya Rabbi Yonasan ben Avtolmus Aimer, menayin lepricha bebegadim shi taira. How do we know that if the leprosy spread throughout the entire beged that it's tar? Nemra karakas v'gabachas ba'adam. It says the terms karakas v'gabachas by a man who has leprosy. V'nemra karakas v'gabachas b'begadim. Just like by a man, if the leprosy is on his whole body, is tar. Afkan parach b'kulei tar. While the other one doesn't hold of this gzeira shava, and holds that leprosy on the entire beged, it's still tamei. So if you hold that it's tamei and you go into the mikdash, you would get karas. If you hold that it's tar and you go into the mikdash, you wouldn't get karas. So there is a difference of karas. We're just going to pause a moment over here to change the channel.